there you have it, the best steak and eggs. Here it is. Well, a little bit fell on the floor, but that's just the steak juice, not the actual sauce. That is delicious. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of Carnivore Kitchen. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make the best steak and eggs. But before I start, if you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell as I will be uploading new videos every single day. Now on to the recipe. Before I actually get started with the recipe, I'm going to explain exactly what you're going to need. For today, what we're going to use is a skillet. Me personally, I'm going to be using a ceramic skillet. You don't have to use ceramic, you can use whatever you have available, but I like to use ceramic whenever I'm making eggs because it makes for easy cleanup and it doesn't stick to the pan. Once we have our skillet, next thing we're going to need is some type of oil to layer the skillet with. I'm going to be using this MCT oil from Garden of Life. We're also going to need some Pecorino Romano cheese, some powdered blue cheese. If you don't have Pecorino Romano cheese, Pecorino Romano is very similar to Parmesan cheese, so you can alternate it and substitute it with Parmesan cheese if you don't have that available. Me personally, I really like the taste of the Pecorino Romano cheese. I've been using it a lot the last couple weeks, and it really brings out a nice flavor to the cheese sauce that I'm going to be showing you how to make, so that's why I really like that particular cheese. Next, we're going to need 2 bowls, one to separate the egg whites from the yolks. So we're going to need the bigger bowl for the egg whites. The smaller bowl is going to be for the yolks. We are going to need 3 eggs. Once we have our 3 eggs, we also need, obviously, our steak. For me, I'm going to be using a 16-ounce top sirloin steak. You can use whatever cut you prefer, but me, I love my top sirloin steak, so that's what I'm going to be using. We're also going to need some tongs to flip the steak once we put it on the grill. And lastly, what we're going to need is either a timer or a meat thermometer. The meat thermometer is going to be preferable for those of you who are not used to grilling up steaks. If you are used to grilling up steaks, then you can use a timer. Me personally, I've been cooking this particular steak for the last 6 months, and I know exactly how long I need to leave it. I need to leave it 3 minutes, 30 seconds on the grill, flip it another 3:30, and it comes out medium rare every single time. So I'm not going to be using the thermometer because I already know exactly how long I need to leave it. For you guys though, if you're just starting out and you want to get your steak perfectly done, I'd recommend using the meat thermometer first, and then once you have an idea of how long it's going to take, then you can go ahead and just use a regular timer just to make your life a little bit easier. And now that we know what exactly we need to make the steak and eggs, next, we're going to move on to the actual steps to make this recipe. The first thing we're going to want to do is preheat the cast iron skillet. For the cast iron skillet, it's going to take about 5 to 8 minutes for my grill to heat up. So I'm going to put it on the lowest setting possible for now while I wait for the grill to heat up. And then once I actually get closer to putting the eggs on, then I'm going to raise the heat. But for now, I'm going to put it on the lowest setting possible, which is going to be a 2 out of 10. I don't know why it's not a 1, but it is a 2, so that's what I'm going to be putting it on. And now I'm going to go fire up the grill, so I will see you in a couple seconds. Alright, now that we have our ceramic skillet starting to heat up and we have our barbecue starting to preheat, let's get cracking. First thing we're going to do is separate the egg whites from the yolks. One of the reasons why I'm going to be separating the whites from the yolks is because the egg yolk is going to be the foundation for the cheese sauce that I'm going to be showing you how to make. And the egg whites, I'm just going to put that on top of the steak once the steak is all cooked. I've been making my steak like this for about the last 4 to 6 months, and it is my absolute favorite way to make steak. It comes out delicious, and it really brings in a nice flavor to the steak. If you are not a fan of taking all these steps, you can also skip this step and then just go right into making the scrambled eggs or whatever type of eggs you would make regularly, but I would highly recommend that you separate the whites from the yolks and make it this way because it just comes out a lot better, at least for me personally. The egg yolks are gonna complement the cheese really well, and it's gonna come out like a nice thick paste. And I'm not a fan of sweet steak sauces. I've never been a fan of that. For me personally, I like my meat to taste like meat. I don't like it to taste like desserts. So I've never been a fan of sweet meats, and if you prefer more savory foods, then this is going to be the recipe for you because savory and delicious is what this is. So we got one more egg. Once we have our final egg separated, oh, there we go. Ended up accidentally putting a little bit of the yolk in with that white, but that's okay. Now next it's going to be time to add the cheese. First I'm going to add the Pecorino Romano cheese, and with the Pecorino Romano I'm going to add roughly a tablespoon. I'm not going to measure it out, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. If you want to be exact, you can measure it out, but for the egg whites, it's really not that big of a deal. Next, I'm gonna put 1 teaspoon, a nice big teaspoon of the powdered blue cheese into that mixture. Get yourself a nice heaping teaspoon, add that in there, and if you want to add in an extra one, you can even add in another half teaspoon. It really depends on how cheesy you want your eggs to be. Next, we are just going to stir this until it's well combined. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like right now. It's gonna come out not too thick, but once you cook it, it is going to thicken up real nice, and it's gonna make the eggs nice and fluffy. So if you prefer more fluffy eggs, then this is going to be amazing. If you prefer your eggs a little bit more compact and dense, then you want to add a little bit less cheese. So it's going to come down to personal preference. The more dense you want the eggs, the less cheese you got to put in there. The more light and fluffy you want it, the more cheese you're going to put in there. The next step, now that we have our little egg cheese concoction ready to put in the pan, is we are going to raise the heat a little bit. For me personally, I like to put it at a level 4 when I am making this particular recipe. And we are going to spray the pan with MCT oil. Right here, for me personally, I like to spray the crap out of the pan, but put whatever you need. It's a little bit overkill, but that's the way I like to make it. And once it heats up a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead, put these eggs in the pan, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the steak on the grill. All right, the pan is feeling really nice and hot right now, so I'm gonna take that egg white cheese mixture that we just made. Let me just put that fork in the egg yolks, because we're gonna be using that in just a second to make our cheese layer mixture. Now we're just gonna take a spoon and put this in the pan. When you guys weren't looking, I did add a little bit more cheese to this mixture, so it is gonna come out a little bit more thick and nice and fluffy. All right, now let's go ahead and put the steak on the grill. So what I like to do is wait for the grill to get to about 500-600 degrees. Once it gets to 500-600, what I'm gonna do is turn off the left and right burners, because I'm not gonna need them. I'm just gonna use the center ones. Then I am going to lower the burners so they are at very low heat. Now let's take our steak. It's a little bit difficult to do with one hand. Put it on the grill, and we are going to leave it there for 3 minutes 30 seconds. And now that we have our egg whites cooking and our steak on the grill, next it's time to make the cheese sauce. For the cheese sauce, we're gonna take the 3 egg yolks that we made earlier, and what we're gonna do is take roughly 1 teaspoon of the Pecorino Romano cheese and put that into the egg yolks. And then we are also going to take roughly 1 teaspoon of the powdered blue cheese and put that in as well. With the blue cheese, a nice big teaspoon. And we're just gonna mix this until it makes a nice thick cheese sauce. So this is what it looks like right now. I don't want to tilt it too much because it's gonna pour out. But once we finish it, it's gonna come out really nice and thick, and it's gonna taste absolutely delicious when you add it to the steak. So there we go, our cheese sauce is pretty much ready, and as you can see, it is nice and thick. One way that you can know for sure if you made it right is to flip it upside down, and when you do flip it upside down, it should stay in there. If it falls out, then you made it wrong. You need to add more cheese. But this one right here is perfect because I could put it like that and it's just gonna stay right in there. One thing that I forgot to mention that we forgot to do is salt our food. Me personally, I like to do about 3 turns each. So I'm gonna do 3 turns on the actual eggs that are cooking, 3 turns on the egg yolks. With the steak, I had already salted it last night. I like to salt it and spray it with some MCT oil the night before. So that's already good to go. I don't need to do anything. And right now, it's about 3 minutes 30 seconds, so time to go outside and flip that steak. As you can see, the heat is still holding even though we haven't put it on high anymore. And what we're gonna do is take the steak, flip it, let it sit here for another 3.5 minutes, and then we are gonna come back and add the eggs to it. We just flipped our steak, now it's time to flip our eggs too, because we wanna cook it nice and evenly on both sides. Looks pretty good right now. And here, just to give you guys a little sneak peek into what the eggs look like. If you don't want them to be quite so brown on top, then you could put the heat a little bit lower. I had it on a 4. You can put it on a 3 if you don't want it cooked quite as well done. But for me, I really like the way it comes out like this. Comes out nice and light and fluffy, and when we add the cheese sauce to it, it is going to be delicious. All right, it's almost been 7 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead, put the steak on the plate. We're gonna come back and add the eggs to it, and then pour the cheese sauce over top, and it's gonna be delicious. You guys need to try this out. All right, the heat is still holding, and now we are going to turn off all of the burners before taking the steak off and putting it to the plates. Now that we have our steak right over here, the eggs look like they're about to be ready, so we're gonna just turn the burner off and just shimmy this directly onto our steak. Oh, that sounds delicious. I'm just gonna quickly rinse this under hot water to do a little bit of cleanup while I wait for that to cool a bit. And that took all of about 2 seconds to clean the pan. As you can see, very, very easy to clean up. Does not take long at all. That's why I love using the ceramic skillet. But anyway, back to the recipe. Now we're gonna just put that aside and give this one more final mix. Shake that off. Gonna go ahead and use our little spoon to get rid of whatever extra cheese is on the fork. If you love cheese, you can give the fork a nice lick, put that in the sink. All right, time to pour the cheese sauce over the steak. Not only is this going to look delicious, but it is going to taste delicious. You guys need to try this. I am not bullshitting you. Best steak and eggs ever. Spread it out nice and evenly. That way we get a little bit of cheese all over the eggs. There we go. That looks really good right now. Give it one more lick before we put this in the sink. And there you have it. The best steak and eggs. Here it is. Well, a little bit fell on the floor, but that's just the steak juice, not the actual sauce. That is delicious. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and eat that, but before I eat it, just a quick reminder that if you like these types of videos, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more recipe videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's recipe video. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.